Hallelujah. Giving the highest praise. 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 In the morning when I wake up, in the night when I wake up, I will lift up my voice to heaven and give you the highest praise. Hallelujah to my King. Hallelujah to my Father. Hallelujah to my Jesus. I bow before the throne. When I look at all the wonder and I see all the creation, the beauty of the universe, you never, never change. You never, never lie. You never, never change. You never, never change. Hallelujah to my Jesus. Hallelujah. 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 Hey. Hey. Hallelujah. Giving, hallelujah, giving the highest praise, hallelujah, giving the highest praise, hallelujah, giving the highest praise.
Hey, come let's pray, Jehovah. Come let's worship Jehovah. He deserves the praise. Come let's praise Him. He deserves everything. Oh, the worshiping. Oh, He gave me life. I will praise His name. I'm here to praise my God, oh, because He gave me life. Come celebrate, come jubilate, come now worship Him. He deserves the praise. Hallelujah, giving the higher praise. Hallelujah, giving the higher praise.
Hallelujah, giving the higher giving. Hallelujah, giving the highest praise. Hallelujah, giving the highest praise. Yeah. Hallelujah, giving the highest praise. Ooh, hallelujah, oh yeah, yeah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah to my Jesus. Hey, hallelujah. Sing praises to Jehovah. Lift up your hands and worship. Lift up your voice and pray. Hallelujah. I lift down my life for Jesus. I will worship you, Yahweh, Yahweh. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah to Jesus.
All right. Good evening, folks. Welcome to today's program. I'm Afonso Zensot of the Liberia Public Radio and Lpr-Tv. We want to welcome our viewers and listeners across the globe. Thank you for sharing your evening with us here this evening. Today is May Week. And as usual, we're here to bring you news, information, and entertainment. New political phase added to the Alternative National Congress in Liberia. Well, the garments of advocacy is gradually fading away. And so folks that are in the advocacy industry now are taking a pivotal movement to get actively involved. What is going on? These and many more are going to be our point of conversation here this evening. Activist Vandalark will be my special guest here on the Liberia Public Radio here this evening. Stay tuned. Very shortly, he's going to be joining us here in this what promised to be a fascinating conversation to get a first inside take of Mr. Patrick's, his political ambitions, how he intends to wage a campaign. All of that will be a point of conversation here this evening. Stay tuned and let's get the ball rolling. Okay, good evening, folks. We want to welcome our viewers and listeners across the globe. Thank you for sharing your Wednesday evening with us. I'm Alfonso Ziensot of the Liberia Public Radio and Lpr-Tv. We want to welcome our viewers and listeners across the globe. Thank you for being part of this midweek conversations. Well, the politics in Liberia is getting more serious, dicey, and convoluted in my own term. That's my definition. You don't have to go with it. Well, a long-time advocate is now perhaps putting his government, what is going on, what we need to know, how we got at this point. So who's going to be there to champion the cause? And this is what I told you guys all of the time. I always talk for myself because the folks that we are depending on, they are all trying to march on Capitol Hill. What is the beauty of this Capitol Hill? Are we hearing in the next term the 30K will be double? Is that what they are going for? What is involved? Well, we're going to be having all of that conversations. It's about Liberia, and that's what exactly Liberia Public Radio stands for, and that's what we're going to be doing. A new political phase added to the Alternative National Congress. That's not the point of conversation here this evening. And see this, Somalia appoints Al-Shabaab, a co-founded as Minister of Religion. Man. Well, I told you about a new book on the stand, Liberty Hijack, the history of how the loss of liberty divides Liberia, written by legendary Kai Gerald, is a former minister of government. We're going to be talking, this is a book. I already have the book. I'm going through this book, and I'm going to be having the author here. But this evening is all about the man called Vandalark Patrick's, very familiar name. Remember, he was charged during the Helen Johnson. He's been in the advocacy for a while. It's not one of those overnight people who just overnight tend to be advocates and they want to take the stage. But I heard that on SK-TV the other day, that he's marching on for MARGIBI. So who's going to be talking for you? Who's going to be talking for us? How he came to this decision? What prompted this decision? Well, I have no idea. And not to be judgmental, and this is what we have invited him here this evening, and he has consented to be part of our guest. Activist Vandalark Patrick's going to be my guest. Well, folks, my guest is standing by. No much time to waste. This midweek, a lot is unfolding and right before our very eyes. Let me bring him in here, and we're going to have a point of conversation here standing by. Let me bring in my guest here this evening. Who? You see, he's more or less like a diplomat now. Oh, politician. Okay. My dear brother and friend, comrade Vandalark Patrick, good evening and welcome.
Well, good evening to your media institution. Thank you so much, Big Brother, and the listening public. It's a pleasure to be here to discuss national issues. Respect to our country, Republic of Liberia, and it is a great privilege and an opportunity to sit on your platform this evening and to discuss the future of our country.
The future. Are you already on Capitol Hill? That look like a dove or Capitol building dove behind you. You already on this?
No, this is Washington, D.C. Of course, I've been at the Capitol Hill here at the United States Congress when I volunteered for the Congressional Black Caucus for 2 years. So I've been at the Capitol Hill, but not the Republic of Liberia. And this is my own environment. So the door behind me is not the Capitol building anyway.
Okay. So you are you don't want to wait and get on job to start learning. You already start making friends with those guys on Capitol Hill. So when you are elected potentially, that's your goal, then you know where to start. Is that the kind of maritime you are on now?
Oh, no. As a matter of fact, as you may know, I've been trained as a human rights defender, but professionally, I am an administrator by profession. I've been trained. For the past 15 years, I work in this portfolio. But sometimes around 2017, I was selected as one of the best human rights defenders from Africa. On the Minnesota International Non-Governmental Fellowship. It's called the Mind Fellows. And as part of my training, I was assigned in Washington, D.C., specifically Capitol Hill, to observe legislative workings. And that led me to align with the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, a conglomeration of some 50 members of the United States Congress here in the United States of America. So I worked with them for a couple of times, understanding legislative proceeding, understanding public service engagements and everything that has to do with the workings of the Congress. And the Congress has a similarity to that of the Republic of Liberia. But basically, it was intended to build my capacity as a public policy strategist, negotiation skills, and how to do fair assessment, especially when policies are made, and how to hold people accountable, not just to talk because you want to. So it gave me a better picture to observe how people discuss in plenary, the position they take, and how to maintain those positions, and also formulating policies by inviting expert opinions. Unlike in our country, everybody tends to do the same. But what I observed, I think the beauty is good when people do not have monopoly over certain knowledge. They bring people with the expertise to give their independent opinion on certain issue to inform Congress about the decision they should take, whether positive or negative, but at least they have had the opportunity to listen. And so it really gave me an opportunity to learn more. And I think that is, like you said, is additional preparation. But I think, yes, this is where we are.
Okay, I know you have been and you went to other outlets. LPR has its own style way of doing things, and we are not putting any other network. What we're doing now, we just try to settle you in to make sure we stabilize it. I'm not, yeah, so we are warming it up here to get started, of course, because when I saw that door, I'm like, wait a minute, this guy's already on Capitol Hill High. So it would be unfair. I know there are a lot of things added to your credentials of late and all of that, so it would be unfair if we do not give you the opportunity to have that sort of intro, and we will get down to the cardinal issue. Is it possible that you can put your device in like a horizontal form, or
if it is like that, that would be good. I don't know whether the public, I don't have a problem with that. Are you talking about this?
Yes. Okay, there you go. I want all of us to be on the
okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
I want us to be on the same scale and let my audience get a clear picture of who is Vandalark Patrick. Okay, so let's get a ball rolling. It's 8:14 Eastern Standard Time. So let's do a little bit intro. What has he been up to? Who is Vandalark? Introduction is not my favorite because you tend to leave out important pieces of your guest, and that is unfair. So just give her a quick little run through and we will get a ball rolling.
So Vandalark Patrick is a Liberian born and raised in MARGIBI, specifically Division 44. And my late father used to work for Firestone as a rubber tapper. And I was born during a period of economic hardship. My parents were uneducated. My late father, I had no opportunity to go to school. And so the only means of survival was to tap the rubbers. And so during that period, I was born. And I experienced excruciating poverty. In fact, at some point, I was described by the economic status of my parents, the son of a tapper or tapper son. And I was almost 10 years when I started school because the conditions at that time were not conducive. But nevertheless, I went to school during the period of the war. We fled into Guinea, and I attended the Bosu Refugee School. And around 1997, I returned and attended Carroll High for a year before moving to Abel Motor Lateral, where I graduated in 1999. I had to live with someone as a houseboy in Harbour Hills to acquire education. People who live in Firestone will know exactly what it means. But After that, I also saw Kuwait and DK clothes for my mother because there was no form of employment. And so I was a child, but I became an adult because I have to work, sell to feed my families. And so I had a time to go to Cottington. I graduated 2008. I worked for some time and later enrolled at the Cottington University Graduate School. And I graduated in 2012. And then I took on the role to be a voice because the conditions that existed in Liberia at the time I was born as a child, where I was introduced to all kinds of human rights violations and retrospecting what transpired during the war, those conditions were still prevalent in the country and they are still prevalent today. I opted to be a voice, and to do that, I established a nonprofit, Campaigners for Change International, to give me the platform to advocate more for the voiceless people in society. And since then, we've been providing scholarships to some of the most vulnerable youth in the country, and in Pong County, MARGIBI, and Maserado. Many of the high schools in Maserado, MARGIBI, and Bon. When you go, you ask many of these principals, you ask for Campaigners for Change, formerly show Liberia. They will tell you that Vandalark has been very instrumental in building the human resource capacity of the young people. And of course, I see activism as a form of vocation. I see as a vocation. I'm sorry, somebody was trying to call. I don't believe that people's rights should be violated and that individuals should go with impunity. And so I have been physically and psychologically tortured. I've been imprisoned. I've been charged illegally with sedition, criminal conspiracy, against the state. These are heinous crimes. But nevertheless, through the intervention of the Liberian public and other grassroots movements, on many occasions, I won the case in the court. But some time ago, I decided to relocate to the United States to build my capacity when I got selected on the fellowship that I just mentioned about, the MIND Fellowship, that took me to Washington, D.C., spent some time with the U.S. Congress while working with Tax International, Torture Abolition and Survival Support Coalition, and that of the Congressional Black Caucus. I built my capacity and I extended my tentacles. And as a result of what I was doing, I got a scholarship to go to Harvard University in 2020. And I spent a year and a half there. And I just graduated 2021. And of course, we're still contributing towards national development in the Republic of Liberia. So when you ask who is Vandalark, I'm trained human rights defender by practice and theory, and also as a public policy strategist, specifically trained in the area of policy making. And so when you ask who is Mr. Patrick, this is me. I'm sure in the course of the discussion, we'll have more to say.
Okay, let's get a ball rolling. Okay, we want to welcome our listeners and viewers across the globe. I am Alfonso Zienso to welcome you to this all-important program here. That's what we do, and we will keep doing here. Mr. Patrick, thank you so much, first and foremost, for honoring our invitation to be here. We always keep the conversation proportional, and to let you know, you are at liberty where you find necessary to plead the fifth in terms relative to whatever questions you would choose not to answer. You are at liberty to do that, and we don't put people here. Okay, we're going to get a conversation going. But this is not meant to reconnect some of your pains that you went through in your advocacy, but today it's happening, and I'm quite sure you are monitoring current development in your country, in our country here. So it would be unfair without getting your initial reactions with respect to what is unfolding as relate to the July 26, 175th independence anniversary, what that brings to mind.
Well, I think there were mixed reactions. Number one was people did not want to celebrate the independence, but I have a contrary view to that. For the fact that I'm privileged to have right to nationality, it's a fundamental human right that I must appreciate. And I like to clearly state that celebrating the Independence Day, it comes with, different perceptions. People argue that we did not achieve, so it doesn't mean well for us to celebrate our independence. And other people believe that they should celebrate because some gains have been made. And so for me, I think I did not subscribe to people not wanting to celebrate. It's a choice. But overall, I know there are lapses. It's a historical lapses, 175 years. So it means those problems started accumulating from the time Liberia gained its independence. And so for me, for the fact that I can be identified as a Liberian and I have a right to nationality, I think it's a privilege. It's an opportunity for me. So I cannot be a stateless individual. So that I want to applaud the founders of Liberia and those who signed the Declaration of Independence for giving me that right to nationality. With respect to the actions of the young people, and this is why I would say this, sometimes, and I like to make this very specific, in as much as we blame, the police for not being efficient with respect to the fracas that took place. But I found an individual, especially my generation, especially you being a student leader of a university, to engage in acts of violence. I think that I'm not too sure whether he was taken into the classroom to be indoctrinated into the acts of violence. I think there is a cultural or societal issue in that country that we have to clean. We have to clean the mess, not necessarily by looking at one sector, that is the public sector. The social sector has to be really investigated because it beats my imagination to see a university president, the highest stage of mental preparation, engaging in acts of violence. I think that alone was a fundamental contradiction to what we have been preaching over the past. So those who did not go to school and they see such an individual engaging in acts of violence, what message are we sending to them? So for me, I think there is a societal problem. If you have good people who are morally defined, they cannot be persuaded to do bad things. I stayed in Liberia for years. I was engaged in activism. I did not engage in any act of violence. I did not encourage people to get involved in violence. Never. I did not do that because I did not learn it in school. But again, sometimes it's good for our leaders to act. You don't have to wait for people to cry or be drunk behind you before you act. I think allowing the government to wait on the Liberia National Police without making a swift intervention into what happened, that painted our country in the wrong direction. I think personally, the police did not act on time and they delayed the process because they are there to protect lives and properties. And I think they are silenced until human rights organizations, European Union, United States issuing condemnation on their part before they come up with statement to arrest. I think that was a fundamental mistake. I pray that they don't do it again. They should be swift to deter crime and to protect lives and properties. So these were things that happened. With respect to the statement from the orator, I think she tried to balance, but blaming opposition sometimes for the problems that take place in the country, I don't think that was fair, but overall, I think presenting the image of the country as it's supposed to be and cautioning the government to take certain responsibility and improve the lives of the people. I think she was very strategic on that. She also hit the opposition. Of course, the opposition have some level of responsibility to make the country function in the right direction. The opposition is a government in waiting. As a government in waiting, you have to conduct yourself in a form and manner that people will trust you, that tomorrow when you get to power, you improve the lives of the people, you maintain stability of the peace, and of course, you hold people accountable for the one thing that they do. And I think she was right when she mentioned that the opposition needs to really step up the game, and they should not always blame the government, for everything that is happening. They should also take accountability for some of the things that happen within the society, because most of these actors and actresses are either for the opposition or for the government. So basically, that was my observation. But I must say clearly that I was happy that I saw Liberia's 175th Independence Day. It's a privilege for me as a Liberian to have a right to nationality.
Yeah, and you put it into context because there's a divided house, and I don't usually agree with people, but I side with you 100%. America here, depending on who you talk to, people have their own talking point, but for some, but again, that's their view, that's their opinion. So that's the beauty of a freedom of expression, to say that we should not observe 175th. Then it brings into mind those who fought and those who also brought us to be where we are today. Everything, nothing is imperfection, to question their involvement at the time because of field policy of one administrations. After it's the country, and that's the country is just a place, but the people, the inhabitants, are those one. Okay, so let's get to the main talking point here. By the way, do you have a political establishment, political identity in terms of association with political institution in Liberia?
Oh no, I have no political alignment. I still remain as an independent person. I still remain as an activist, except that we are preparing to transition from activism to public elected office.
How can you cut through those lines?
Specifically, meaning to remain independent, not to be aligned with any political institution. Is that what you're saying? Or transitioning from activism to public elected office?
Activism to politics. There are two distinct engagement, more or less. Now, like I'm saying, it's evident in a kind of diplomatic move. It's not a Vandalark that when he's in an activism move, which of course, so you are gradually transitioning here. But how is it going to look like here? This is something that has been part of you, and you are putting down this government. Somebody was just making a testimony and say, yes, he's a long-term advocate, him a right person. Now he's going to be more or less deeply involved in politics. But I'm sure he doesn't want to mention it, but he's scratching your head now. Wait a minute. Is he going to join what is happening Capitol Hill now? Where are we heading as a nation? So how do you cut through the lines of people who believes in you, what you are doing? Now you try to undo it, and you want to go to Capitol building. But I'm quite sure there are reasons prompted that we're going to come to that. But how are you going to transition that point? How difficult would that be?
So I was born with certain established values. Like I said to you, I was born in poverty, raised in poverty. I struggled to be who I am today, God first. And I have felt the pains of vast majority of Liberians. In the midst of poverty, I did not compromise my integrity when I had the opportunity to do so. You see, when you are born with established value, or you are indoctrinated into certain cultural values, no matter the temptation, you cannot deviate from that. And so I remain Vandalark patriots, and those values my parents instilled in me, to be a disciplined individual and to be gratified for what I have. I'll remain Vandalark Patrick and pursue my dream in every direction if I choose to do so. But let me just clarify. Political misconception that activists are transitioning from activism to public elected office, going into politics, and so they are politicians. I'm not a politician. I don't wish to be one. I have a career. I'll be considered as someone who has a career. That's why I took my time.
What is the danger? Let me intro you a little bit. What is the danger of being a politician?
I'm not a politician. I've never been there before. I don't think there is a danger. There's a danger when you are a bad one. There's a danger when you are a bad politician. If you are doing good or you intend to do good, then there's no danger. So politics in itself is a profession, is a very good profession.
Do you want to be
the same thing with a medical or people, engineer, they get bad engineers, they get good engineers, they get good doctors, they get bad doctors. Politics
do you want to be a good politician? Do you want to be a good politician?
Come again?
Do you want to be a good politician?
Like I said, I remain Vandalark Patrick. Going into politics does not qualify me to be a politician. So tomorrow, when somebody transitions from activism as a human rights defender and as an administrator, trained in theory and practice, and now go into public office using the political tool to get elected, does that mean that Vandalark will automatically transition to be a politician? No, I have a career. I have a profession. What I'm doing into politics does not mean that I am a politician. I am a public policy strategist. And this is something that I have lived on. It's something I have been trained, in theory and in practice. And I have demonstrated that. So going into a public elected office, in the context of Liberian situation, once you go into elected office, it means this general classification, the guy is a politician. The question I ask people, if you are a medical doctor, you went into politics after serving the people, and while you are in the legislature and the people say you are a politician, when you leave from there, you start to practice your medical profession. Would they still call you, a politician? No, they won't call you a politician any longer. They will call you based on, the work that you do. So going into politics is a vehicle that we use. Without conducting elections, we will not get elected, or people will not get elected. So Vandalark Patrick remains who I am, and I want to make this clear. I'm not a politician. I am a human rights defender and a public policy strategist. I have been trained in theory and practice. When I get there, it's not going to leave me. Discussing politics does not mean I'm a politician. So we just have to set that very clear. Engaging in acts of politics does not mean you are a politician. There are people who have been trained in their profession, in theory and practice. And so you can tell that they are. But I just lay down to you that, educationally, all my degrees have been in public administration, and I've been working in the areas of human rights, trying to advise national leaders to take certain steps by utilizing the instruments, constitutional instruments, to make good laws to protect lives and defend the integrity of Liberians and the Republic of Liberia. So going into the legislature does not in any way disrupts me of my profession, or everything I have earned over the year is going to be placed one side that this guy is a politician. No, I think I will remain who I am, and I will act in full concert with the law of morality and the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia to protect the rights of our people, advocate on their behalf, and hold government accountable, and that of the public officials to account for every sin or every human rights violation they will commit when we are elected and sitting at the national legislature to propagate the message of our people.
Okay, what a good one here. And this is what we do here. We give people the opportunity to put their point through. And I heard you saying perfectly, you are not, and you intend not to be an associate of any of the political parties. And there are people going to be wondering how there, and the cultures of Liberian politics, people are so much addicted with this party political leader. I am not a fan of it. I'm still wondering as to whether we have political institution or we have political exhibitions of their leaders. So let me ask you, I'm not sure these decisions are due embark on is overnight decisions. Do you remember the timeline or how you got to this point here? There must be a cardinal reason, something that you have been fighting for other people's civil liberties and all of that. And frowns, criticize, make suggestions, whether they were accommodated, I have no idea. But how you got to this point here? Were there other consultations held behind closed door with other folks based on the decision that you are taking today?
First and foremost, thank you, it's a conviction. And like I said, I was born and raised in Firestone. Firestone has not just imprisoned our people for decades, but Firestone has contributed significantly to the production of low-skills individuals only used for opportunities to tap robots. And as a child who hailed from that region, having experienced poverty, born under the plantation, and how I saw our people discriminated. Many days, my late father would wake up 3 o'clock in the morning. If he says he's not going to work today because he's sick, he will be abused and chastised. It was almost like the days of slavery, where you have no choice, no vacation. Impressing our people, my late father's monthly salary exceeded not more than $100 a month. That alone filtered the soul for poverty to be entrenched. After 20 years, the conditions have now improved. Besides, the country that I intend to represent was founded in 1985 under the regime of Samuel Kanyando, specifically December 15. We have had leaders who have not stood in defense of our people in MARGIBI. Besides, MARGIBI is a strategic tourist site. We host the Ravos International Airport. We have Firestone. Right now, the entire Mosorado County of Monrovia is moving towards Marshall, which is in MARGIBI. Many of your listeners tonight, if you ask them, some of them have land or properties in MARGIBI right now. That play is strategic. It's the gateway towards the Republic of Liberia, because wherever you have the international airport, you know is the introductory part of the country. Leaders who have served us in time past from MARGIBI compromise the interests of our people. They signed concession agreements without consulting our people. You know the Firestone agreement they signed. Some people were in existence at that time. They never consulted our people, gave them 99 years. And even in this modern era, the Farmington Hotel that you see at the Ravos International Airport, you won't believe that some of our lawmakers, in fact, all of our lawmakers from MARGIBI, sat and signed that concession agreement, giving Farmington Hotel 30 years tax breaks. So for 30 years, that lucrative business will not pay taxes to MARGIBI. But most of the young people, when I visited some time ago, they are languishing in poverty and desperation. There's no good opportunity for school. There's no good hospital. The only hospital that we have, CH Rennie Hospital, got up with fire. It has not been built. We're going almost like 5 or 6 months. Besides, and let me just say this, in 2005, we were foot soldiers. Then, in 2011, we voted some of them, we were foot soldiers. 2017, we were foot soldiers. And this culture of seeing groups of young people who are prepared, sophisticated, who have acquired education, who are being in defense of the rights of the most vulnerable people in society, as in the case of MARGIBI, to be perpetually used as guinea pigs, when it's good to elect them to power. It beats my imagination that there must be a different trend. It's time to change the narratives. We were told that we were the future leaders of Liberia. Since MARGIBI was established in 1985, almost 37 years ago, when will the future come for us to provide leadership? Regretfully, the current contenders, as you can do your own assessment, were people who served, our country before. Some of them served as representative for 9-7 years. Some of them served as senator for 12 years. They miserably failed our people. They went for re-election. and they got defeated. So 2023, they are coming back. Imagine somebody lost a district. You cannot win and develop a district of 20,000 people. You went for re-election, you got defeated. This time you say you want to be senator. That would be the greatest political accident in the history of Liberia, specifically MARGIBI. That people who have stood in defense of the rights of our people to protect their rights and ensure that economic opportunities are created, but at the same time, we see certain individuals serving as obstacles to our progress, and they are coming back. There's nothing we can do but to step into the process in protest. My transition from activism to elected public office, specifically the Senate of MARGIBI, must be seen as a form of protest to send a caveat to individuals who still believe that we are political guinea pigs, only good to elect them, that they are the only people to provide leadership for our country, specifically MARGIBI. So it's not based on personal aggrandizement or personal ambition, but I think the Senate will give us a better platform to change some of those laws. I intend to repeal that concession agreement, giving them 30-year tax breaks when the country is languishing in poverty and desperation. Look, let me just say that MARGIBI survives on $421,000, $25,000 annually. MARGIBI has a population of 215,000 present resident in MARGIBI. But the current budget, the country development budget, is $425,000. What $425,000 United States dollar can do to 215,000 people? Okay. No good roads, no hospital, no clinic, no good schools. I think we need to run MARGIBI like a country by building international connections to attract investors. Like I said, MARGIBI is a tourist site. We need to promote tourism to create employment opportunities for our people.
Okay, let me hold you up there. We're not roller skating here. You know the rule on this network here. The culture of politics in Liberia is so much involved. Politicians have created a sort of gap, and they are perceived themselves as people who over everything, and they are pressing the minds of the young generations in such a way they have been suppressed unknowingly to them, but to chant them, to celebrate them to whatever way, context, the fee they are, because they don't want people to be of their type. And that is a challenge, because these young generations of today, they are being indoctrinated by these politicians, paint other people to say they are not for you, they are not one of you, they can't do this, and not to mention they are and still involved in this catch with politics. Give me your vote, you're going to get a good financial reward and all of that. That culture has been ongoing. You coming from the West, acquire the education needed and qualify to serve any positions in our country that I believe. But you have a different culture there. I am wondering and pondering here how Vandalark Patrick going to battle through that system to that gap. All right, just hold on 1 second, I believe. Yeah, I'm wondering how you're going to cut through that gap.
Well, what I can say is my entry into politics is going to be different. Like I said to people, like I always say, you know, in my dealings, the elections in 2023, specifically the Senate race in MARGIBI, is not about me. And interestingly, I gave them a parable the last time when I visited. I say a little boy had a bread in his hand. He asked his grandfather whether the bread was alive or dead. Being very smart, the grandfather said, the life of the bread lies in your hand. The point was, if the grandfather had said the bread is alive, you will squeeze that bread, and the grandfather will become a liar because the bread will be dead. If he said the bread was dead, while opening his hand, the bread will fly and the grandfather will be a liar. The future of MARGIBI lies in the hands of those who are currently experiencing poverty and desperation. I told them clearly, I was born in this Firestone plantation. I am one of you. My pockets are not deep. If you begin to elect people on the basis of the size of their pockets and not what they will do for you, the consequences will be enormous. And let me just make this very clear. I think everyone who is aspiring for political office must begin to develop the mindset that without politics, they must speak truth to the voters. I have not come to in any way cajole the voters for cash. What I would do as a senator, that's why I'm telling them now. The choice is theirs. There are people who gave money, say they were not elected. So if you say people introduce money, I know a lot of people who spend money and they did not win. And so that is the basis of this argument. But the message we are sending out is clear. I think the voters have assessed, or they are still assessing. They know the role that we are playing in the Liberian society. This is undisputed. From student activism to national activism, we have played our role. We may not have been 100% perfect, but we have a record that is not tainted with respect to the decision that we took, the life that we transformed, and the credibility we brought into activism. The records are there, and those records will speak. I have said this to the people of MARGIBI. We got to be on the table. MARGIBI deserves a seat exclusively for the most vulnerable people in MARGIBI, specifically the young people. You won't believe when I visited the country recently, I saw scores of young people. I saw scores of young people. I met some of them in the graveyards, read to boss time. Somebody who is watching or listening to this podcast or this broadcast will admit to that. I went to Kakata. I visited the communities. The conditions of our people have not improved. My message to them is, I am one of you. If I can graduate from the dungeon of poverty to rise and I'm giving back to society, the best we can do is to collectively work together. So the indoctrination of the young people with this money mentality, they have to get money before they vote for you. I think the dynamics have changed. You have seen in time past where people spend a lot of money, they were not elected. Our people are not stupid. They are watching and they are calculating. At the appropriate time, they will be sending a clear signal that the size of your pocket will not make you just to get some kind of elected public office. Liberians have graduated from the point where people come and introduce money, cash, beg arrest, to a point where they will have to sit, reflect on where they have been and where they intend to go. They will put us under the political microscope to see what we have done. This issue of money, believe me, I think Liberians are gradually gravitating towards a more conscious environment where they will look at the issues and they will not just look at the size of one's pocket. And for Vandalark, I'm not a millionaire. I have never been before. I wish I was. But I think I have the desire to champion the cause of our people. I'm telling my Gibeons and all those who are listening to me, the only way we'll begin to develop, not just MARGIBI, but various countries, until the legislators in those countries begin to run their respective countries like a country where they can raise their own revenue, where they can have a country setting, derive a budget, and go outside, bring investors, raise the money, and carry on economic development in the country. In the case of MARGIBI, it is totally disgusting that $425,000 can be used for development purposes in MARGIBI that has a population of 215,000 people. No good roads, no clinic, no hospitals. Things are just bad. If you depend on the government budget annually, $425,000, I'm not too sure whether poverty will leave the people of MARGIBI. And so I am introducing a different kind of legislative politics to ensure that we begin to think that MARGIBI is a country our country, and we raise our own revenue, travel abroad. The same way the president of the Republic of Liberia can travel abroad, look for investors, bring money. We can also do that. And gradually, over a period of time, I think we'll be able to eradicate poverty and restore economic viability, within the Republic of Liberia, specifically MARGIBI, and our people can come from, poverty. We can't continue to survive $425,000 annually. Poverty is not going to leave us soon.
Okay, that's my special guest, activist Vandalark Ara Patrick. Here is my guest. Let's take a break and we'll be right back.
From the West African nation of Côte d'Ivoire, Liberia Public Radio and Television present Business Diary. This program focuses on the activities of business institutions and individuals in society.
I'm Jeremiah Zawu Senior, CEO of All Nation Bank. It has been very good to have this business established here. We are 1 year since we opened here in Anono. There have been few challenges here that have faced in this country, and that is all about the language. But here instead, I refuse to be deterred. I refuse to be discouraged. I open a business and things have been fine.
My name is Mercy Wakarilanga. I am a finance officer working for an international organization. I have a master's degree in business administration. So today I'd like to take the opportunity to talk to you about the COVID pandemic and how it has affected the business sector in terms of me working in an organization, an international organization.
Don't miss out. Be my guest. It's coming soon on Liberia Public Radio and Television.
Okay, that's Business Diary there with our man Gus. Is based in Abidjan, La Côte d'Ivoire. There are a series of programs coming up here. This coming Sunday, a group calling itself Babli District Citizens in the Americas. They will be hosting their annual convention right here in the ocean state of Rhode Island. Here, that's the project they have embarked on, and so they are calling on every Liberians, their citizens, and good people of Liberia to join them here. This event going to be held right here in the ocean state of Rhode Island. Yeah, coming here, a big activities. Also, talking about that, there's another organization here as well. This organization too, they're going to be appearing here on Liberia Public Radio. Tiwado is a local-based organization. There's their community leaders there. A program committee chair, Emmanuel Tuet, Rufus Yaid, and Vava Yesiet. They are the community leaders. There's an organization. They're going to be having a homecoming here. We're understanding one of their local leaders going to be coming, representative from Nima County. This organization is a local organization based here. We learned they are involved in other things, but we're going to be getting into details of that. A lot is unfolding here. We don't just only talk politics. We are also involved with what is happening in our neighborhood. There's a new memoir out there. It's available on Amazon. Liberty Hijack, the histories of how the laws of liberty divides Liberia. It's a new memoir. It's been written by the legendary Kai Jerawle. Kai Jerawle is a former minister of government. Republic of Liberia is here. That's the book. I already have the book here. Let me just show it. I have the book here. Very, very interesting book here that you need to read so that you will know your history. So we have people here who are tracking stuff here. So if you want to buy this book, just go on Amazon, Liberty Hijack, and then you just write the name Kai Jerawle. It is fascinating. A lot of revealing information that you don't know. You need to know. People are lazy. They don't like to read. They just let to grab information from somebody and run with it and add their own and subtract and make it like a, or having like a tow truck. And they're not giving the right information. So sometimes we just need to take time and do our own search on information. That way you can have a good talking point. Back here is my guest, activist Vandalark Ara Patrick is on his political journey to Capitol Hill for MARGIBI County here. You lay out a very good point that somebody is when they saw, oh, it looks like he's trying to introduce a sort of federal state and local state government. This is how it sounds big to people, but society is involved, and so we need to start thinking big and all of that. Capitol building is such a place that it's some sort of, somebody says, sort of cantankerous place, because people go there. We often hear these things here. People come, they would tell us, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I mean, this is not a strange one to me now, because we have heard this thing over and over repeatedly, and when they get there, what they fail to realize, Capitol Hill is all about consensus building, because you can yell and scream all day. If you can't make a legacy in terms of changing, have a sort of political conversation, give and take back in it. It doesn't matter whether you're from CDC or Liberty Party, but let's narrow it down here to MARGIBI. There are other people from other parties who are going to be contesting. Just yesterday here, I have one of my local representatives here, and say, the senator, they're not talking. If I accuse the senator, and they're not going to have any conversation until after 2024. Now, give me a break. When you hear that from your when you hear that from your leaders, you wonder what is going on and how can they get things done. Mr. Patrick, how prepared are you? You know it better than I do in terms of the kind of political, volatile, and hostile situations that we have there. Are you going to have a rule of engagement event if you get there, or are you going to take a one-man fight to be the King Kong on Capitol Hill?
No, I said to you, I've been trained as a policymaker, and being a human rights defender and an administrator, I'm going to use our administrative politics, our policies to ensure that we build consensus. One thing I learned in school is consensus building, negotiation. You can't convince, you can't bring people to the table, to agree on terms, then there's a problem. And I don't want people demonize the legislature. As much as being demonized, it's still in existence. I know people don't like certain things, but we can challenge our leaders to do what is right. You see, the problem in Liberia is not really those we elect. It's the silence of the majority. Let me let you know today, Liberians only know how to vote, but they don't know how to hold their leaders accountable. Someone will be in a very unjust mood that 2023 is coming. They will chant the battle cries. They will spend their own money to buy campaign materials, to vote someone into office in joy and happiness. So when that individual is elected and they deviate from what they promised, then they go into hiding. They tend to be Holy Ghost prayers. They start to pray and fasting. The culture of silence in Liberia is killing our country. It's really, really killing our country. I'm not saying everybody should go on the street and go and protest. I'm not talking about that. There are many ways you can use your informal authority to effect change in Liberia. I am prepared. If you ask me how prepared I am prepared. Number one, we want to bring credibility to the national legislature, specifically the Senate. You see, when countries like Ghana, like Rwanda, like South Africa, Botswana, and Namibia, the international community is giving them millions of dollars, billions, for economic development to take the people out of poverty. They look at the components of the leadership. We need to first rebrand the leadership of the national legislature. That's why I took my time to be well prepared academically and professionally. So no one would tell me that this guy is novice. Before I take a decision, I have to go back into my files, what I have learned in school. I've been trained as a student of government. I want to apply those techniques. I have been trained as a human rights defender to protect the rights of individuals and the territorial integrity of the Republic of Liberia. I want to make decisions not just based on what I see today. I want to make decisions based on what will happen in the future. One of the things we don't do as leaders, we do not use statistical data to make decisions. Like I said before, when I was at the United States Congress as a fellow, they bring expertise. They invited the expert opinions of other people to speak on critical national issues. If they are discussing national security issue and the lawmakers want to have diverse views, they will bring people who have served in those positions because they are the authorities in those areas. They bring them and present arguments. How many times we see our lawmakers discussing national issues, national security issues, education, and so many things, especially when they are very critical. They don't do that. We tend to do everything. My goal is to build a consensus reform. People always say that one man cannot change. Yes, one man cannot change the legislature, but one man can inspire confidence. The reason why you are on this platform today, you got inspiration from someone. The reason why Vandalark became an activist because I was inspired by someone. The reason why people go to school and they do certain things, why we have musicians, why we have lawyers, they were inspired by certain people. Inspiration is the foundation that ignites change in society. It is said that the age of Methuselah has nothing to do with the wisdom of Solomon. We are going not to be combative. We are going to present the arguments, to use our persuasive methods. You know, respect. You can respect somebody and disagree with them without losing the originality of your voice.
Okay, so let's have a little conversation here. We are going, and I love that part that you just inserted into the conversation here. It gives more room now for more talking point here. I'm not going to be combative, but to engage. So let us backtrack here a little bit. Most often we frown on government. Yes, they could be the way, but it's a two-way street. There are three branches of government. The legislative, the first branch, the executive, the judiciary, and the judiciary, the first branch, I constitute both the establishment, opposition, people that call themselves independent or free mind or whatever it is. And I think that's where the breaking of the gap in terms of holding the executive branch of government accountable and having things done. You being a student of government, a policy person, let's look at what is unfolding today. Do you think that rules of engagement is existing within the first branch of government in terms of the conversations, the national conversation that needs to be kept? When I listen to people, both sides, the government, the oppositions, and people who claim or who are saying as political leaders or good voices, their talking point, their things that come from out of their mouths does not represent a way of sitting in the modern. The reason we have the modern society nowadays conference to people to sit around is for Patrick Vandalark to bring his point. I bring my point. We will not agree, but we can have a conversation and see what is applicable. I can't see that happening. When I see my senators, I mean the senators or representatives all in the country, all that I see is insult, disrespect. I never heard one of these people, one of these days, Joseph or Darius Dillon or Nyombi Kanga. This is a piece of legislation here from Moserado to Grand Basso. Even though you are seditious, even though you are my Liberty Party, even though I'm from my Unity Party, we need to go outside of Capitol, have a lunch, and think about this. Or Darius, take this proposal home, give it a thought. Next week, let's come back and have a conversation and see what we can wait. It doesn't happen. But all government or is executive, and they do have their share responsibility. I am not saying that happening. If it is happening, there's no evidence because the loose talk, the lack of political tolerance of these people is the one they are indoctrinated to this young generation. And all you see these young people today, more or less, the students are doing the work of opposition. So the students are doing the work of the opposition. So what make them the opposition? What make them the opposition? And I agree with you. They said they are government waiting. You have the CDC. Yes, what they did yesterday, the tactic they deployed to get them to power, it works. But it's a working efficient ways to bring good governance into place. CDC went red barrel, opposition put out their own black barrel. You have the other group here, green barrel. Here, that's a reflection to some of the bad and dark days of Liberia. And you want to tell me you're going to do it differently than those that are there? I find it very difficult to believe.
The first thing is that I think people who follow me in the past, I did not use weapon when I was in activism prior to coming to the US. But when I used to speak, just to issue a single statement, the country would stand still. I did not go to anybody's house. There's no record, there's no trace of Vandalark getting involved in acts of violence. Never, no trace. And I've always said when you improve the quality of your communication skills, you attract world leaders. When you speak, you tell the world who you are. As we are discussing now, I don't know where you live. People who are listening to me, they don't know where I come from. Some of them have not seen me. But from the conversation, somebody will say, but this guy needs seriousness. Like I said, we are not going to be combative. We are going to use the persuasive methods to remind our comrades or our colleagues that this thing is going to be right. Do you know that Article 10 of the Liberian Constitution states clearly that the Constitution and its provisions and principles shall be taught in all institutions of learning in the Republic of Liberia? The Constitution is a guiding principle that dictates or decide how we should behave. A country that came from a bloody civil war, I would have assumed or expected the government to make it mandatory so we can groom a new breed of leaders who will be condescending of human rights abuses. They will not engage in acts of violence. They will begin to elect leaders on the basis of quality because it gives them the right. Do you know that the Constitution is a social laboratory that can be experimented by high school and university students to lay the foundation for future leaders? As we speak today, there are no democratic elections on the basis of party politics in many of the high schools. I come from Cottington. From the time we led a protest, a very peaceful protest, just by reminding our leader that this thing is wrong. They ban party politics on a university campus. So today, the student, one man will just wake up today and say, I want to be president, I want to be legislator, I want to be senator, or student representative, or student senator, without going through the proper vetting process. Because political institutions will have to vet before you get on the national scene, because you are going to represent the image of your colleagues. If they don't see you trustworthy, you are not going to represent them.
No.
But today, everything is loose. That is a fundamental mistake. We are not teaching our children, our young people, the values of democracy, the values of integrity, how to deter corruption within the schools. So when they become overly corrupt, they get on the national scene. What do you expect? We're going to fight in that direction, intellectual exchanges. Number two, I think we need to, I will be one person that will bring a new kind of politicking, decency, to have a global repetition. I said this to one senator. I said, there's no small senator, there's no big senator. If you know the relevance of the position you hold as a senator, you will conduct yourself in the way that will reflect national development, that whoever sitting somewhere around the world, when they say Senator Patrick or Senator this, the people will say, but then this guy is serious. Go on the legislator website now, the Senate website. You will have nothing to read. No certain senator within the Republic of Liberia, maybe like yesterday or not, they don't have a website for online presence. I want to be a senator that will attract people. The decisions that are made, the policies that I have made, the bill that I have supported, my constituent engagements, my international connections. So the people within my country, MARGIBI, they don't have to be running to the Capitol building to know what their senator is doing because it's online. We have many of our young people want to do research. There's nothing on the legislature. The national legislature, there's nothing. Come here to the United States. If you just Google Senator Mitt Romney, you Google Kamala Harris, if you Google many of your senator representatives.
My own Senator Jack Reed, David Cicilline's congressman. I don't need to go to his. All I need to do is take a phone call.
That's it.
And I make an appointment. The office here going to tell me when he's going to be in Rhode Island, when he's coming from Washington, and they're going to lay his calendar. This is his calendar event. We're going to put you down for X, Y, Z. And when that time comes, exactly that's it. Nothing going to change it unless something pop up. They're going to get back to you and say, "Hey, because of this, we can't do it now."
So that is what I'm talking about. We need professional discipline. You know, people have to conduct themselves for people to respect you. You know, the legislature is it represents the image of the country. The caliber of leaders that you have, it portrays a different image of the country, either positive or negative. I agree with you. When people go to plenary, I see combative behaviors, you know, and it demeans the relevance, you know, of the Liberian Senate. And you want to see your senators arguing, you know, on issues, even if I disagree with you. I mean, if I love you, but I can disagree with you without losing the relevance of my position and the originality of my voice. We want to see that happening. But that can happen when a single individual is consistent in what they are doing without being combative and persuasive, you know, and engaging other people behind the scene. Because there's one thing to go to plenary. There's another thing to work behind the scene. How competent are you, you know, in getting your colleagues together? I think what is destroying us is the politics of fame. If you see most of these people, you know, in the Senate and the national legislature, and all the cameras are on them, they tend to be like some kind of rock stars, like everybody watching them. You know, what is happening in South Africa is different. People want to imitate Julius Malema. But Julius Malema is not a Liberian. We are Liberians. We are not South Africans.
You can be another person, period. That's it.
The situation in South Africa debate that people speak in that way. Here, we have tasted war. Our young people are still not developed mentally. The Constitution is not being taught in our school to teach them the values of human rights and deter them from engaging in acts of corruption. So when our leaders are engaging in this kind of combative behaviors, insults, and it's almost like a battleground field, it sends a wrong signal that something is fundamentally wrong, that there are ways we can discuss without losing our relevance and the originality of our voices, and to protect the sanctity, the sacredness of the national legislature. Where laws are made, the place cannot be endorsed. You don't make laws in laws. Any law that is made in laws, that law will not benefit the people. It means you are not sound, or you were not sound in making those laws. And I think, like I said, and I continue to stress, it's the politics of fame. Leaders must begin to think that they represent a constituent, they represent their counties, and when they are discussing national issues, they should first go and seek the indulgence of their constituencies. Yeah. Let them go and sit with them. There's something that is coming on the floor next month. And this is the issue. What is your position?
No, they
Sit
take
with the
decision.
people and discuss.
Usually they take decision and then they go and tell the people this is.
And another thing that I saw at the national legislature is the composition of the staffers. Every lawmaker is entitled to almost 13 to 14 persons. They get research as this and that. Go and see. The first thing I want to do, you know, and I think is people are going to be attracted by that. I think if we can lobby.
Hold on one second. Hold on one second. People are going to be attracted by that. We saw this thing playing out before. People came and they started like when you put a Coke in the freezer and it is frozen, and then fitting to know that when you can't shake it, you have to get it settled down, and then you just shake it and then you boom, you want to do it like you pumping champagne. We saw that happen before. Those were the things that they did. And some of us frown on that from the onset. You can be, to be a politician is a unique game by itself. You should be able to navigate. And they don't understand how government works. They do not understand. They think they play by the beat of their supporters, go there with force, go there with a muscle arm, and then you're gonna bulldoze your way. It doesn't work like that. And I'm gonna be, we don't hire anything here. Senator Darius Dillon, when he started on the wrong footing. When he begins to call his colleagues spineless. I'm not sure what was going through his head, because at the end of the day, you need to build a consensus. That's what is important to your constituents, to the country, and the people that you serve. I can't come and cuss the hair out of Vandela Patrick, and tomorrow I expect for Vandela and myself to sit at a hair table to have a conversation, and that is lacking. I'm wondering whether it will still happen, because what we see happening and playing out here, it also gave a free pass to the government to do things that they are doing. Okay, the government doing this, so we'll do it. And when you go talk about aid, there is a justifications of the actions of these people being aided and abetted by their supporter, cheered them up. Yes, they're doing it too, so we are doing it. Is that how we're going to have a sort of banana to republic where there will be no laws and order? If the government is doing it wrongly, don't you think there's a way that you can get your message going to engage with people that you're supposed to engage, and you're going to have a payback? So all these things here fluttering around our society in the different aspects of government makes it very difficult. Here we are in the midst, ahead of a consequential election. Politicians again are taking narrative of the conversation. They don't want to be held accountable. They're having their own outlet. They will control the narrative. They go there and say all sort of crazy stuff, and people support this sort of idea. And that's what CDC, you see, he who rides the back of the alligators eventually goes into the back of alligators. CDC were doing all of those crazy things with Helen Johnson Sirleaf, and the thing that they were championing the cause of liberation. Now, because it works in CDC, for CDC, people are doing it today. Let's assume CDC leave tomorrow. And the very opposition that we have here today, to get there, another group of people will come and do the same something where we have a lack of political stability, no rules of engagement, everybody doing their own thing, because if I did it, I have folks behind me who are going to support me 100%. You coming up with all of these things based on your background, your expertise, you went to school, you learn what you're supposed to learn. I'm not saying those that are guys, they are not in school, but they have initiated themselves into a cult, and they strongly believe this sort of ideologies is working in their favor. So how can you twist the minds of these people?
So, like I said, character. There's a message in the messenger. The messenger is the senator. The message they preach is another one that the people have to think about. To break the walls of what you just talked about, it takes a lot of hard work, strategies, because people feel entitled. But I think our level of engagements and the improvement of our composition It's going to attract people to us. Everybody will think that, you know, the thing you don't try to do as a leader is to pretend like you know everything, that you have monopoly over knowledge. If you demonstrate or if you exhibit that kind of characteristics, that you know more than your friends, and you are coming to be combative, you are not going to succeed, because the Senate is a place of negotiations. You know, it's a place of alignments and realignments, if I should borrow the words of Augustine P. Kafwan. But I think what is important to state here is when people do consultations, they will know how to speak. And those who are elected into office to represent their people, they know very well what their people like and what their people do not like. However, I think this issue of political entitlements, especially where one group of people believe the government is in power, and maybe the president will call, you have to do this, you have to do that. Sometimes you have to put the law for countries first. This is where we are going to really, really prioritize by bringing expert opinions, inviting people to sit before members of the national legislature and speak, and sometimes to encourage, you know, the senators to bring the quality and the relevance, you know, within their offices. What I'm even thinking about, this issue of working with the Arthur Graham School of Law, you know, to have some of their students do internship at the national legislature, you know, to help prepare some of these lawmakers, especially sometimes you see thorough bills, and some of them, you know, these companies that go to Liberia, they hire some of the big lawyers in the country. They will hire certain things within their agreements. Our lawmakers don't have time to read. They just go and sign. You need someone with a legal background, like here in the U.S. Congress, my brother. When you go there, when the president,
especially when it comes to concession.
Yes, you don't. A lawmaker who has not been, you know, academically equipped, not sophisticated, cannot make a sound and informed decision when it comes to signing concession agreements. You need people who will inform your decision. But the categories of people in those offices, you know, and their competencies, it is not acceptable. Sometimes I'm afraid that when it comes to those decision-making processes, they mislead some of the lawmakers because of their inability to grab some of the critical things that are absorbed within those concession agreements. And that's why when you sign a concession agreement, it gets into the public. At the end of the day, the Liberian people start to cry. And when they start to cry, then there is confusion. The question becomes, why did you sign in the first place? Take, for example, look at what happened to MARGIBI. A certain lawmaker from a country signed a concession agreement for 30 years that particular concession, or company should not pay taxes to MARGIBI. So where is the source of income for the people?
I don't know, he or she was thinking that they would be there for 30 years. And so they are more or less is about themselves, the benefits, than even the country and the people that they represent. That's
one thing we need to discover, like I said, somebody was talking about federal. This is not federal. It's an ideology that must be absorbed in our mind. It's not something that should be elected, because we know Liberia is a unitary state. We know that we have counties. Yeah, we agree. We've not reached to the point of federal. But the mindset of the legislative caucuses of the various counties must be about not to be dependent on the government. I am going into this process to do away with this political dependency. Imagine if the government is corrupt and the government is the same one responsible to appropriate money into the budget for various country developments. Obviously, it means the people in the various countries, they will live in poverty for the rest of their lives. Because if the government is corrupt, they will not have money. But the legislative caucus of MARGIBI and the country leadership, in my mind, this is what I'm pushing the One MARGIBI agenda. I want to ensure that during every country setting annually, we must be able to develop a budget, maybe $5 million. How do we raise the money? It gave us the opportunity to engage Firestone, engage China Union, engage the Rabos International Airport, engage the Farmington Hotel, or we begin to strategically target countries where we can travel as a caucus or as a leadership of MARGIBI to attract investments and to ask people to invest in the economy of MARGIBI. $425,000 cannot develop that country. It is not going to happen. So the mentality is, gentlemen, let's begin to develop the budget first and see how we can raise this money. I'll give you an example. The big churches you see in Liberia today, the money was not given to them right and say, go and build. They sat, they designed a strategy. In 3 years, we want to have this church built. This year, we will collect 20,000. Next year, we'll collect 20,000. Right within the congregation, some people so see, they have still, they did this, they wrote letters out, and guess what? They raised the money, and today, those churches are in existence. If people with informal authority can design such a mindset, and they can pursue it, and today you think that money was sitting somewhere, and they just gave it to them to carry on the development, then you are making a mistake. As a country, we can do a lot. MARGIBI, my brother, let me be very honest. I think those who are listening, it is a security risk to even have one hotel at the Rabos International Airport. We need about 5 hotels. How do we attract people? Let the MARGIBI County Legislative Caucus and its leadership travel to other countries around the world. Let's have friends of MARGIBI, people with international connections. How do we bring them and strike that opportunity where they can present the case of MARGIBI and attract investors to MARGIBI?
So the notion government, from what I'm hearing here, you sort of far from it. And we've been saying this thing here. When these people come here, you know, and I like the move you're making, but I'm not going to give you 100% credit here, because you people, when you say this thing here, why you talk, you don't do why you talk.
Oh, no, let me just hold you before you come in with your question. Let me just say this. I am a man of my words. Make no mistake. People who know me, they will tell you, I'm not trying to brag about my character or my identity. This is me.
Or you're not
my record. Let me give you a joke.
Sentiment.
I was on Cottington University scholarship. As a son of a Robert Tabo, I got enrolled to Cottington. After 1 year, they threw me out because my sponsor was retired. They put me on the university scholarship. The scholarship is meant for scholars. But there was a time I had to prioritize the interests of my students who were suffering and raise my scholarship. I led a protest against the institution, peaceful one, to say we are not going to class until you can improve academic activities. President Ellen Johnson said on the campus and said, young man, why are you so ungrateful? You are on a university scholarship. You're supposed to close your mouth, graduate, and leave these people. And what I said to her, I said, Madam President, morally it was wrong for a man to speak against expansion. It is not about me, but it's about the future of people that will come. And she looked at me and said, young man, I respect your decision. She told the president of Cottington, Dr. Topa, who is now representing the people of Bon County at the National Legislature and the Senate. He said, the decision of this young man must be respected. Improve the services, so the student can return to school. So I'm just trying to say, when I take a decision, I don't compromise. I'm not saying I am an injured, but there's no trace of compromise. I know what I do. And even what I'm saying now, I know 30 years from now, you will play this particular thing that Vandela was here, and this is what he's saying. So just to remind you, I am aware of what I'm saying here. Few years from now, you will play this thing, and please play this voice for people to know that this guy was congressman or what he was saying. I'm not going to change. And that's why I say I'm not a politician. I am an activist in the public policy strategy.
You know, I sometimes feel bad, and all of these bad policies, bad governance that is ongoing, it is the thing. Our same people, they support them. So at the end, the victim becomes the victor, and the victors becomes the victims, because they have idiot lawmakers to travel all over the places. You will never see them in a conversation with other high-profile government officials, business people, like come to the state here. Meet some of the lawmakers. Meet some of these senators. If you think that should be the work of the opposition, I can tell you it recalls the days of Felix Houphouët-Boigny. The opposition, they have their special envoy in France, UK, who speaks for the opposition. When the government having a bad policy, they give a season to refine message, not in a violent context, and engage the European Unions and all of that. What I believe somebody is calling here is, okay, yeah. Engage the European Unions and the major donors. But all the oppositions, every dick and Tom, anyone wake up, get up and cuss, and they think that's going to be the solution. And so the very donors, the very international community, they sit and watch and say, wait a minute. Are these people also ready to take state power the way they're conducting themselves? They're forgetting to know that these people that sit within their enclave and watch and see every little thing that happens. But because of this lack of political tolerance, no leadership, and then they are unable to take decisive decision, because if they date somebody tomorrow, next they're going to come after them and cause them because they're afraid to be caused. Whatever the case, they can still cause at the end of the day. So we see all of these things get into our political space. And some of us wonder, wait a minute, where are we heading as a people, as a nation? Up to this point in time, the government, we focus on the opposition because they are looking for the job. The government will come and tell us, well, give me more time because my work is inconclusive. But you are looking for the job. You need to convince me. You need to tell me that you are prepared to do it differently than what is happening here. I don't want, no, that's not, I want something of a concrete, not abstract, something of a concrete. And I'm not seeing that case being made enough. I have no idea who speak for Joseph Boyka on domestic or international or on economy. I don't know who speaks for Alexander Benedict Cummings, ANC, who they are also waiting when they take power. Or are we going to have another round 2 of the CDC stay on? Because they were not prepared. They did not put people that we don't see people who will represent the face of if they are elected. We don't see those people. So at the end of the day, that's what CDC did to us. They started Eugene Nambe and other folks stay on because more or less they were in that aggressive zone. They were seeing transition onto the government side, the way of doing things. They were seeing doing it. And it's happening again today. Today it's happening. So, I mean, this is such a confused situation. Confused in the sense no one is taking the bull by the horn.
And I want to agree with you with the opposition too. And this is where a lot of people say we are for the government. And it is a taboo when you criticize an opposition leader. It means you don't like them. But it is not a taboo when you criticize the government, then of course you are a hero. And like I always said, those who are serving us in government and opposition leaders are Liberians. Just the kind of diversity. But it can switch anytime. So, but what I don't like is for people to think that when you criticize them, it means you don't like them. It's the same thing that happens at the national legislature. When a lawmaker has a dissenting opinion against another colleague, it is a very personal. Then the political maturity must be developed. And this is where I say fundamentally, if those who are now into elected public offices, specifically at the national legislature, have had the time to go through that metamorphosis of student government, some of them did, some of them did not. They will know that the formation of a political party and the selection of an individual to bear the image of the party before getting elected, they will understand how to engage their colleagues. We did that in student politics. We disagree with our friends, but today we are friends. After the election, we move on. But on the national scene, people take it very personal. No. Even something that happened in 2017, people are still keeping it in their minds. You can't be a leader in that kind of, professional or background. And of course, the opposition. Let me give you an instance. They come to the United States. Like, I used to be in DC. Let's say the spring, or something, World Bank Spring meeting. They come here, they're going to the White House, standing to the White House and taking photo. Going to the Capitol building and taking photo outside. When you're supposed to be going in. But they're standing outside taking photo.
They don't know anybody.
Putting it on Facebook.
They know anybody into go to. They don't make.
You cannot be a senator. You come to this country.
All right, just bear with us here. I don't know why when people. All right, go ahead. I'll loosen your audio.
Opposition survey. Most of them, they don't do what they call opposition survey. You can't be a senator. The reason why this thing happen like that, people don't give some of them credence because they don't have online presence. And no one will invite you to the United States Congress to go and talk. The first thing when you send an email, they're going to Google you. Right now, if I tell people my name is Vandalark, I am a Liberian human rights defender and a public policy strategist. The first thing after that, I hand them a call card. The next thing, they are going to Google me to know what the guy has been into. You can't be a public figure and they can't Google you and find you. It means something wrong with you.
Or they find you and then they scratch your hair. One of the two. Sometimes they can find you, but all right. I'm sure there's an interruption in his line. Activist Vandalark Patrick. Are you there? Okay. You have to unmute your microphone.
They need to improve the level of their conversation and add more importance to their offices, the whole. You can't be a senator of Liberia. You travel to other countries, and even if you're going for private visit, you must have the opportunity to engage investors, to carry some level of development in your country. There's this tendency, oh no, lawmaker is not supposed to engage in lobbying and this and that, but attract the people. Let them go and see. Have you heard that Liberian, legislative caucus, or let's say when they have congressional, people here to have, the national legislature, their group of senators. They say, we're going to Europe, we're going to attract investors, we're going to propagate the message of Liberia.
The case of Pelosi and our delegation are going.
Fine. See that?
You think they just going rapping because they want to get in the air? They're not just getting in the air. They are going on to serious business.
I'm telling you, the government, look, you got to take away your partisan cap. And this is the message that I want to carry. It's not just about representing the people of MARGIBI, but to bring sanctity. The economic situation in the country is bad. We got to restore the sacredness of the national legislature. So when people are leaving, how proud you will be when 5 senators are engaging President Biden or maybe Nancy Pelosi or maybe the Senate, the United States or Congress, or you go to the British Parliament, men with integrity, with knowledge, and they propagate. You know what kind of message you're going to be sending out? You're going to be one of the most powerful parliaments around the world because of the integrity and the relevance you bring to the national legislature. I want to see that. You take 5 presidents, maybe 5 lawmakers from the lower house, hardcore intellectuals who understand economic issues. You take 5 senators who understand security issues. Go around the world. Go to Singapore. Meet the parliament there. Go to Britain. Meet them. Go to the EU, European Commission. Go to China. Engage these people. Try to sell the country. It's not about your personal aggrandizement or your political party you represent. You must sell the country. You must project a new future of the country. This is the kind of representation we want to bring. Cleaning the legislature, it has to do with the mindset. Like I said, you don't have to be combative. You can use your persuasive methods. In school, I learned negotiation and utilize that effectively. People have to understand that there are certain things you have to ignore. Put law for country first. You can be an opposition to the government, but at the same time, you can work with the government once it's in the interest of the Liberian people. And so I, as a victim of human rights abuse and poverty, especially where I was born on the plantation in MARGIBI, I still believe that those conditions have not changed. My goal is not just to talk. How do we build consensus, attract international support? Can we go out? Take for example, I was telling someone the other day, I say, a certain senator, every year you can get read 30 emails to the best universities around the world, the relevant of your office, asking them for one scholarship. 30 emails every month.
At least out of 30, 10 will answer. 10 you will
I'm
get.
just saying 10 will answer. They will tell say brilliant people.
Right.
We want them. You know what I'm saying this? I came here when I was in school here. I brought almost 10, 15 students here in the US and Canada. I'm not yet the senator. I just use the internet. Imagine if I have a bigger platform and I read one parliamentarian in Singapore or the United States Congress, I know most of them, or go to Canada. There's no small senator, there's no big senator. The first thing I'm going to go there for strategic team. You do a comprehensive analysis of what that man thinking is. What is his political philosophy? How does it align with yours? You build a team and you go over there, you sit with that individual. One-on-one, you discuss economic issues and opportunities to improve the lives of your people. If you talk to 10 parliamentarians in our country, I can guarantee you, now, when you are coming back, at least
you are not talking about you are not talking about basement party, because most of them, they come here, they have basement party, live streaming, and that's just oil. It is embarrassing. It is absurd. It is ridiculous. I'm serious, because sometimes we do this thing and we sit with other people who are not even Liberians, but forget it. Social media now is so much, everybody on the social media, and sometimes we try to make these suggestions, these sort of proposal. You are not one of us. They always want people to be of their caliber to be able to do the same thing. And that's just wrong. Let's take, for instance, what happened this July 26th. The opposition itself, in as much the actions of the government was so ridiculous, it was absurd, they could have gotten into worse trouble, because there's always this pro and pro-government demonstrations and non-pro-government demonstrators always. That is, even in the USA here, they can't tell us that they didn't know that these people were going to do that. They could have created that line of demarcation, that barrier. What happened is they could have just jumped into Uncle Sam embassy and vandalized the place, caused destruction, this and that. I can tell you, if the opposition was a major opposition in Liberia, and I'm saying this and I'm saying it loud and clear, the very first thing they could have done, right away, the opposition was send a special envoy to the ECOWAS and made it representation and say, hey, ECOWAS blood wasted on our land before United Nations and US and all of those people came in, men and women. They died for that country. I was there. I saw the work. Everything they did was not 100%, but sacrifice men and women. Any of them made enough representation? How many of them ever stood before international cable wire and make the case why Liberia should be, why Liberia should transition to why Liberia? Bobby Wine, who said, he can sit before Al Jazeera, international cable wire. Why Joseph Baika can't do it? Why Ellis Kome can't do it? Yombi Kangal and all of these people. But if they don't say it for TV, Spoon TV, Co-Spoon TV, all of that, and they just think politics, and they think they're just going to get the favor of the international community by just having people like this whole day shaking their hand. No, that was a serious thing that they did that could get all of us, Liberia, into trouble. And see, now the European Union, everybody coming before even the president. But I tell you, if the opposition was a serious opposition, for them to be taken by their donors, they could have made first and foremost representation to ECOWAS. People will say, why ECOWAS not doing that and not nothing? Okay, I understand why you come in, because you just don't know how system and how things work. The ECOWAS, the EU, and even call for an audience with the American embassy. When you start to do those things, They're a little chihuahua, then they're causing noise all over the place where they can just shut their mouth and keep quiet and look up to their leaders. Believe me, they will see the seriousness in us as a people and as a nation. That is not happening. And they think they're waiting first when they get there. So they will practice just how other people get there, and they're practicing, and they're still practicing. They're asking us to give them more years. So I am afraid. Why is on? So
you're right.
We're going away here. Go into your play. Let's go into your play for Mount Gibi County. We intend not to change this whole thing, but all of the intertwined with government working there. If Patrick Vandela Patrick is elected as the next senator of Mount Gibi County, let's look down on some of the things that you have jotted down here that want to be the first thing you're going to lay hand on in order to see Mount Gibi to be why it is and what you hope for it to be.
Well, should I respond?
Yeah, sure.
If I may get you clearly, what am I going to do when I'm elected senator?
Yes.
There will be long-term and short-term plans. The long-term and short-term plans. Right now, one of the problems or challenges I see in MARGIBI is unemployment. Almost 63.4% as of July 2021. 63.4% of young people in MARGIBI are very unemployed. The only form of employment is motorcycle riding or pimping riding. Not only that, I think there are poor educational infrastructures, and many of the vulnerable young women are unemployed. The only means of survival is to sell firewood, which is very dangerous and depleting the trees, and we're talking about climate change. I want to see a new kind of MARGIBI. Tourism is very essential. Right now, like I said this to people, MARGIBI has a very good tourist site. When you are landing at the Rabos International Airport, when you are in the air, you know clearly that that place can be developed. The short-term plan is, how do we get many of the young people to work? First, quick impact projects. Like one of the things I saw over there is training women and young girls in income-generating businesses, something we call entrepreneurship. So they can just be employers on their own, and we are doing it right now. It is growing very well. When people are trained to create jobs on their own, like soap making, like agriculture, making farms, crop production, and giving them the skills, and hair plaiting, like what I saw, when I visited. It's something that we can develop and bring other people to train them, give them the skill they need. And after the completion of those short-term programs, they can be economically empowered to start something on their own. Maybe we can have 100 persons annually, or maybe 200 persons, put into these in informal sectors. If somebody can make soap on their own and they can generate income, they become self-employed while they are waiting for a bigger picture. That's one aspect. The second aspect is to invest in technology. Look, technology took Singapore out of poverty. Technology is now reducing poverty at a very significant level in China, not in China, but India. You and I, do you know some Indians are in other countries? They are working, just taking call, working with Apple, those big firm companies around the world. If we invest into technology, not just in MARGIBI, but in Liberia as a whole, and open the mindset of our young people where they can remain in Liberia, especially, for example, coding. If you have 100 young persons and you train them in coding and other technological or software, how to operate, 6 months and they graduate from there, they can remain right in Liberia and create jobs on their own. Technology is an efficient way of reducing poverty. We also want to travel around to see countries that are very much involved in tourism. Like I said to you, having one hotel at the Raffles International Airport is not just a form of honor development, but it's a security risk. We need about 4 or 10 hotels around that Farmington, or river. Let me tell you, people are always saying that the population is less. So when you carry on development of that nature, you will not have customers. You lie. Beauty attracts people. And when you bring like tourism sector, you have hotels.
Vandalark, tourism here, and let me just interrupt here because this is what I'm running through my hair here. I think it was destroyed. And I was sort of flabbergasted by the former president, Helen Johnson Sirleaf, who I thought knew better. See, where is Kenija today? Our culture was thrown down for whatever hotel they said that were going to be built there. Look at Busher Island today. Nobody get a sense to give a second thought to say, well, this place could be at good revenue building process for the city corporations of Monrovia, or maybe the city of across the bridge or whatever it is. But the bottom line is there will be attraction of people. All of those things being destroyed and nobody. The only thing that is being so doing a plastic bag flying there. You go there, they just throw in plastic bag all over there.
And I think the decision was not just made by the president. When you have sycophants and people who are only concerned about what they can get, or people who are afraid of losing their jobs. If they don't have government job, it means they will die. That's why some of us took time to build our careers to go there. Within or outside of government, we will still survive. Because we build those careers, we acquire them over the years, and it will remain with us. We can go anywhere and survive. Like I said this to many people, I end up being for technology, I wouldn't be in the United States. I wouldn't travel around the world. I wouldn't go to school here. Never. And what I'm doing here, I wouldn't have sat here and talk. I prioritize technology. I know what it has done for me. It has taken me out of poverty. So I am a testimony of that. Giving young people who stay cry, we need to reduce this dependency appetite. Government give me jobs. The government can create an enabling environment. And it should start with county leadership. If you see me stressing that as a legislator of MARGIBI, my dream is not to be 100% dependent on the government, but to use my legislative connections and build other international networks that will attract more support. Look, you hear Marshall all the time. Where Farmington River meets the Atlantic Ocean. Mm-hmm. In any developed country, look, we should be talking about state-of-the-art modern fishing company that will process fishes. Chinese are all our waters, taking the fishes and carrying it to China, process it and bring it to us. Go to Grand Cayman, the boats are there. Why we can't go out, even if it is little investments, let's get first. How many Liberians have the mindset and they are willing to invest in such a thing? Bring investors. I won't lie to you. In 3-4 years, you will have a very big fishing company in Marshall. And they will not have to be thinking about where to go catch fish. You have Farmington Hotel. Not Farmington Hotel, Farmington River. You have the Atlantic Ocean. People will go there and get these fishes and bring them, process them. While people are living from MARGIBI, going to Monrovia to go buy fish from Chinese and bringing it to sell. That political stupidity, it needs to start. That is just fair enough to say that. Look at Hossing. Like right now, everybody moving toward rubber steel. Anybody just building a random. There's no standard. Absolutely, that beautiful land, it will soon be destroyed. Our people do not have economic power to build second houses that will be standardized. They got companies around the world that they can take 30 to 30, or 40 years to get their returns. Can we attract them? The last time President Ellen Johnson said he came with a similar proposal that he was bidding 30,000 housing units in each of the country. I don't know where that project went. Your ability to convince investors to come and invest in your country has to do with integrity. We conduct ourselves well. And that's why I'm not going to discriminate whether you come from this party, you come from Mary Brown Party, CPP, NPP, CDC. If I'm elected as a senator, that's why my platform is built on the One MARGIBI agenda. We must work together. Let's work as a country, develop, and put MARGIBI first. Lastly, let me give you an example. What I would do. Booker Washington Institute, I don't know whether you are a product, was built in 1929. In fact, it was the first MRT in the entire West Africa. It was built to groom and develop male-level professionals in technical areas, so that every company that goes to Liberia, that BWR will be able to produce those requisite skills. The bomb mine, the Lamco, the Firestone will need, so that these people will go and work. BWR was built in 1929. Imagine from 1929 to now, under the regime of DBK. From 1929 to now, BWR has now offered an AA degree. It is totally down. How can we revamp BWR and make it to a full technical university status?
And I think
do we have to stand and depend on the pockets of the government? Once they come to educational purposes, can we have the educators, people with technological ideas, have a team or a think tank exclusively that will be thinking about development purposes in the areas of education? Come to the United States, have the friends of MARGIBI, have some of those strategic individuals, talk to them, go to MRT, sisterly relationship, go to Georgia Tech, go to this institution, look for some of the best educators or organizations that are investing in education, and tell them, let's go to Liberia. We will be responsible to host you, to do everything. Come and see what we are talking about. I can tell you, if you meet about 30 to 40%, they are here. Oprah Winfrey just went to South Africa. Do you know the state-of-the-art girls institution she built there? The last time I checked, they said she's from Liberia. She said, no, I don't want to be there. I went to Africa. How can we tap? As a senator, I'll say, no, madam, no, I'm capable of doing that. I'm very capable. Networks. Sometimes while we are here today, there are certain people I saw in my life, I wouldn't have seen them if I had not known other people. That's why it's good to build very good networks.
Yes.
Ghana is developed today. Money did not come from heaven. It's networks. So sometimes you have to improve your relationship, but it takes into consideration the quality of leaders that you have. But when your leaders are so narrow-minded, they are dependent on the small size of the pocket of the government, $425,000. That's why a lawmaker will go take $30,000 to go do something to carry on development. Me, Vandalark, I'll go sign for $30,000. Me, Vandalark. The first thing I plan to do, and I said this to people lie. The day I'm elected senator, those $45,000, $50,000 card they will give, I will receive it. The money they will give, I will receive it and call a national press conference and ask the GSA director, I say, come and take it. And I will send a message to the government. No public official in the Republic of Liberia will ride car about $25,000. I am sending my car as an example. And I'm asking this president, whoever that will become president in 2023, that you imitate our example. We need to save money. Our administrative cost is almost 90% on cars. Competition.
Our spending is more than our earnings. So how you expect?
That's what I'm saying. You cannot be buying $60,000
and that's
car.
what the landlord fully said. Look, people, if you're now if you're an engineer, you need to get in a freaking pickup because you're going to be on the highway to make sure roads and stuff here. But everybody now in dag, tinted windshield, $50,000, $60,000, and then you want to talk about good governance when people are living in poverty. Come on, all of them, they are part of the same system. I am not a BWR product. What I did to BWR 1986, we whipped them, T-High whipped them in a special August 24 exercise when we hosted a flight on the grounds of the executive mansion. May her soul rest in peace, the former principal then taught me how to Madam Rosetta Harris and the guy who led the group, the late Henry Moore, who died in Poland. That guy, he led taught me how when we had a competition, and that's how you got a scholarship. And that was the only good thing I did to be there. Yeah, they thought they were just King Kong when T-High surfaced that money of 1986. They thought it was Marine, foreign soldier, because what it was, all they know, tell me how people are trouble people, but to see people to dress beautifully in maroon and white attire with all of the stuff, and then no, they have never seen that here. But yeah, all of these things you're talking about here, it ties in with transparency and accountability. How much do you intend? What's your projection? How much you think you're going to cost your campaign? And will you have an open book? Or will you be those guys, people give money and you ask and say, no, you're not part of my group. You won't get out of your business. They just take it, they carry it. How much was raised? How much was not raised? Nobody get an idea. This is how this dishonesty and corruption creeps in the minds of the people and is being facilitated by their very supporter. How much do you think? How much you think you're going to wait in order to wage an effective campaign? You know what's going on there.
So right now, I'm working with 3 groups of individuals. I have my economic empowerment team. It's a conglomeration of Liberian professionals that I have hired. Some of them were my former schoolmates from Bishop Caraha, went to Cottington Graduate School. So they developed a very comprehensive budget after doing statistical analysis and conducting surveys. The budget that we need, the campaign budget that was prepared in July 2021 to October 2023, it was $321,000. That was set, excluding personal spending. That is what the budget was developed. Because somebody asked the question, you are not the first person that asked the question. Somebody said, Patrick's, you might go into the process. You might travel around. Of course, I will travel to ask people to support the process. And if somebody asks you today, what is your campaign budget? And that day, I think he inspired me, because when I graduated newly, I was still trying to engage people. And I said, oh, we have not made up that decision, but I think it's something I have to communicate with my team. And immediately, I sent an email, and they told me that, it's not going to be now. It's going to take us a month, because we have to go into the 5 districts of MARGIBI. We have to look at the economic, situation that is there, the psychology of the people. And they did all the analysis. And of course, that budget was prepared. But let me just say this. Sometimes projections are made. That is for professional purpose. Mm-hmm. But for Vandalark Patrick's, I am not a money person. That's why on this Sunday, on Saturday, in Philadelphia, the friends of Vandalark Patrick's are having a grand fundraiser in Philadelphia to raise some money. The target is want to raise the $30,000, to facilitate some of the developments that I'm carrying on in MARGIBI. So hopefully I'm leaving the United States for good. I'm not going to come here as Vandalark Patrick's. I will return to the United States as Senator Patrick's. So I'm leaving the United States. I have been here working and everything is okay. Yeah. Somebody asked me, why are you going? It's law for country. It's not law for position. By value of my education and what I have done here, I'm economically equipped to live here. I'm not indebted to anybody. But I think there's a need to make a very critical decision. And that decision stems from the fact that if all of us sit down, somebody asked me, I see why the activists, we knew the end result, they will go into politics. And I asked somebody, so why are you rebuking us? If we all sit down, so the work of the activists is to see wrong and don't talk about it. We see the emergence or reincarnation of wrongdoing. going into the public sector to create more problems for you and I. Then you will start to call us, you go protest, you go issue press statements. I said, we have advocated for long. The best platform for activism in the public sector is a place where you make laws. When laws are made, they are binding on the society, and sometimes go for decades. Therefore, you need quality leaders, people who have stood on the platform of activism, using informal authority to protect the rights of the most vulnerable people in society, to go there and make laws that will benefit the society and attract the international community to invest. Because the sanctity of the national legislature will make people to say, I think Liberia is ready. Right now, you see there is this family law that I intend to debate and lobby. Why young people? Do you know, I think you are heard they say, as long as you are married to a man, I know this might sound very controversial to some people, but that is the foundation of our social problems. You married to a man, I mean, when you are a girlfriend to a married man, the man born by you, the law says the child does not have right to the father's property because he was born out of wedlock. This innocent child cannot be penalized. You cannot penalize the innocent child. He has no right to be born to a married man. Therefore, the Constitution protects that individual. That's why people are abusing our young girls, born by them and die them because they don't have rights to their properties. We must ensure, if you see many of the young kids on the street, Zogos, no good parental care, the child has the right under our law to be developed fully and to have parental entitlements. You cannot disenfranchise the right of that child, that unborn child. The right, the same way we cannot disenfranchise the right of a Liberian who was born in the United States who passed the Dual Citizenship Act. So why are we suffering these young people? Because of poverty, people are using their positions. And the historic nature of this law still.
Okay.
Of the free slaves. When they came to Liberia, the indigenous, they said they were unfit for public office because they were uneducated and very uncivilized. They made a law that, for whatever reason, the few safest ones, that if they born by anybody also, because at that time it was forbidding for that class to marry people who they met on the ground. So they made a law that when they born by you, as long as they are not married to you, the child does not have power to your properties. Because property is economic power. Once you have economic power, you have a voice. That law was initiated since the foundation of our forefathers. Today, it is still haunting us in this 21st century. How can you suffer a child who has no reason to date you? Because of poverty, you took advantage of them, you born by them, you die them, you say the child does not have right to your properties. We will make sure that the unborn child will be protected, and the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia will protect that. This is why we want to fight.
That's a piece of piece of legislation you are talking about now. Well, your portfolio is kind of better. We hope to have this sort of continuous conversation. And for the good, we decided to do this here so to get it out. Subsequent programs, hopefully then you can engage the public. But I think we found it very expedient to get your message out, to unveil your true self, your agenda. Not that we don't want the public to participate, but we have our own way style here. I can't come and have a conversation without knowing in depth of what you want to do for the people of MARGIBI County, subsequent to the Republic of Liberia. And call people here while we're talking, and then other people bring in some things that are not even related to the talking point. It is all distraction. Well, to Mr. Patrick, I want to thank you so much for taking off your time. Please, we remain open, whether you are here or in Liberia. Let us know anything that we can do in terms of making your message heard. For us, we make it proportional. give everybody the fair share. We are not targeting specific group of people. We are not a group of that type. Every Liberian should be given the opportunity to get the other side of the story. So we are not judgmental until we can hear from you. I want to thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you.
What do you have to leave with my audience?
So I just want to, in my closing comment, to say thank you for creating this platform. I know it's not easy, but you are doing a very great job. And the tone of your voice is powerful. We hope this can be developed into something great in the future, because big things start very small. And I think you have grown this platform. We hope to see a very gigantic building in Liberia with Lpr-Tv. And when we are driving, we'll say, oh yeah, we used to be on the platform. And you need quality of leaders that will help advance these kind of agendas, that we need a quality of messaging in the Republic of Liberia.
Right.
And I just want to use this platform to ask Liberians who are listening to support this agenda. We are not going into politics because we want to get rich. So on Saturday in Philadelphia, we are going to have a wonderful fundraiser. The target is want to raise like $30,000 to carry on some significant developments in MARGIBI. Right now, as I speak, I have a scholarship of 25 students. And second semester starts in September. Some of those resources will go towards that. And interestingly, $250 can pay a semester school fee for a student. So some of you who are listening, if you want to send a child to school, we'll put you directly in touch with the child and see how we can contribute. It's not about us, but we want to see quality of leaders coming from Liberia, specifically MARGIBI. If you are a MARGIBian, you are following this podcast, we ask you, you can inbox me. My name is Vandalark, the only Vandalark. If you Google me, you check for me on Facebook. But again, thank you so much for this opportunity. I hope that you will continue to criticize me. Don't give me an inch. I don't want to be celebrated all the time, because once we are going into public office, we need open rebuke. They said that open rebuke is better than secret praises. So I am open for suggestions and corrections, something that will help me to win this election, something that will help me to make impact in the lives of our people. Whoever that is listening is interested in joining this movement. This is a revolution of the mind. We need to change the dynamics of politics in Liberia. We need the quality of leaders. We need to stop political dependency and try to raise our own revenue to take our people from economic bondage. Thank you, and may God bless you.
All right. Well, folks, that does it this event. My special guest here today was Mr. Vandalark Patricks, a long-term advocate, non-transitions, and will be contesting for the senatorial seat of MARGIBI County, Republic of Liberia, comes 2023 elections. So it's quite interesting. And there's a slide he said here, and we're going to closely monitor. So, well, folks, it's 10:14 Eastern Standard Time. That's Alfonso Z, and so that's how we're going to draw the curtain down here this evening. I want to thank you so much. But before we let you go, what a big news today. Major endorsement for Benedict Alexander Cummings of the Alternative, I believe, National Congress, ANC. Was named Macintosh Gateway McIntosh, Dr. Gateway. There you see him. He gave his support today to Mr. Cummings, and it's a big news. Speaking to, it's a big, I think it's a hate. It's a hate on the establishment. He's well seasoned, even though he's been part of all of these party, but no question about that. He brings a lot to the table. But this former government official said his decision, why it does two hates. One, put like a lamb in the establishment. And the other aspect, it decreases the chance of Ambassador Jose Newman Boyka, because Macintosh Gateway is a top insider of Helen Johnson's slaves. So why, even if you were leaving CDC, why he didn't return home, and how can he go to the ANC? It's a plus. You're holding on the sister network television here. I think making that decision is a big political decision, which of course, political decisions are risky decision always, nothing is guaranteed. But I'm quite sure there is a high profile accommodations based on what we are hearing for he gets to counter Dr. Ambassador Gage to come out today to say that we will wait and see how it plays out. A lot is unfolding. The heat is on. I think his presence is going to add value to the ANC. No questions about that. He's known outside of Liberia. He's been in government, vice experience. He brings a lot to the table. So I'm wondering, how is someone who was a campaign member of the Good Governance Council for CDC to allow him to slip away? Is it that they were not able to, or not far-sighted to utilize his expertise? And why did he go to Unity Party? Why he didn't return home? And he gone to ANC. My guess, it could be a major political reward. And he's going to be an added value added to Alexander Cummings and the ANC. But we want to wait and see his specific role that he's going to be playing with ANC. Well, I want to thank you so much for your time, your evenings, your tweets, your comments, your conversation. Been very, very much rewarding and learning process for all. That's what we do here on the Liberia Public Radio. All must be held accountable, including me as a facilitator. And even you who watch, who tweet, your comment does have a propensity to elevate and also escalate some sort of confusions in the countries. All we require here is civil engagement. Disagree with me, call me whatever you want to call, which of course is not the case, but you are at liberty to do that. Until we all can exercise that political tolerance, civil conversations, we will be able to have a good conversations about our country. And that's what we need to do. What is going on right now is not good. I listened to, how they call it, Class Reloaded. Was that? Yes, I think yesterday or day before yesterday's edition, Senator Representative Kaluba. All of that, it seems to be is like an eye for an eye. Those are sounds, those are indicators. We saw that in the past. Nobody is predicting, nobody is witching. But the government itself needs to play her part, because when the citizens begin to be disenchanted and they begin to adapt the feelings that their own government is unable to protect their civil liberties, then potentially they are in the process of taking laws into their own hand. And that's the last thing we want to do, especially with the generation that we are dealing with today. They used to this thing is things that are done for the last 15, 16 years, unbroken years. The devastations will cause all of us, directly, indirectly, to involve, will cause for our country. People are not properly demobilized. They are not properly rehabilitated. So too much is going through the heads of these young people. We don't know where the former President Helen Johnson Sirleaf, after millions of dollars invested by the international community, we don't know where she left the rehabilitation process, how much was spent, what they needed to do. We have no idea. And for us to be hearing these tones from our leaders, sitting down on the podcast, political leaders who have the will to address and find solution to this problem, they are also adding fuels to already to the situation. Is dangerous, and this is something we must all discourage. Yes, we understand countless investigations, unwarranted death killings, and this is what we are saying. This is where the opposition needs to step ahead of the game by engaging these international community donors that have been there for Liberia and make the case to say, wait and see what is happening. You can't assume to say that people saying that they're going to come and jump into your case as a sovereign nation. No, you have to walk to them and put something in place and make your case. That's what you're supposed to do, not to sit down and curse and make fun out of it, and people think it's funny. Those were the same indicators, those are the same things that happens yesterday. And people still said today, oh no, nothing can happen. Yes, of course, I don't want anything to happen, but we are in a consequential war, consequential situation, environment nowadays. Well, the people that we're saying their behavior, their way of doing things is abnormal because of their participation, their involvement. Last time around, they got the help they really needed in order to be integrated in society. I don't think so. That was the situation. And so sometimes these people act based on what just appears visually to them. So if we are not mindful as a country, as a people, no Sierra Leonean want to send anybody there for peacekeeping. No Nigerian want to send anybody there for peacekeeping. They need to, they need to put on their cap, thinking cap. And those language, those tone that we are hearing, the words that we are hearing coming out, it is not good. They are violent in nature, violent in type. They have the propensity to escalate situation that we will find it very difficult to control. Directly, indirectly, whether you are in the U.S., outside of U.S., wherever you are, it will have consequences. And so we need to do everything possible. And the government needs to step ahead of the game. Don't wait there. Don't be like a turtle. Put fire on your back before you get up. You just on that old tree, you're waiting for that tree to get decayed. Then you move to another tree. Responsible government doesn't behave like that. Get ahead of the game. What would have even taken the president, the minister of justice, the police chief to even do everything possible to have visited the victims, to show the human side of it. You got to sit down for people to come talk to you and you come out. What a shame. It is unfortunate. Folks that are around the president, they are just not doing good. They are not. Leaders must take responsibility. Can't tell me you don't know about them. Those people were certificated in the compound of the ruling party. Party chairman. Videos everywhere. How can you come back? So why would they even allow the president to come out and say those sort of things? That's just being dishonest, not just only to the president, but to your country. You know it is wrong. That's the only way to curve, to fine-tune their message. And that was a wrong one. Whoever gave that sort of public relations advice is an ill-advised, dangerous, wrong, unacceptable. A police chief to come out. Where are the people? You don't know where to find them? Why should they always create unnecessary tensions, hassles for the country? Well, folks, we're going to leave here this evening. I want to thank you so much for your time. It's 10:24 Eastern Standard Time. The pessimist complains about the world. The optimist expect it to change. The leaders adjust the sail. John Maxwell. Think about that. I want to thank you so much. Have a pleasant evening. I will see you here by God willing. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.